Welcome back to Arcade Sunday. In today's video we go over part 2 of the Neo-Geo cabinet Resurrection project, and in this episode I do make a lot of progress in getting to the end goal of a working jammer cabinet. Stay tuned.
It's Arcade Sunday. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out this wiring harness. This is indeed the Neo-Geo machine's wiring harness with a very large connector here where 1 and 2 player controls will connect back to the cabinet clearly and then via the jammer edge. I've got another jammer edge connector here as a sample to try and work out what goes where, and yeah, so that's one thing aside. Kind of figured out how the video cable works. It's just a standard, the 5-pin sync and red, green, blue and ground, basically back into a connector like that goes into the jammer edge. Pretty straightforward. So now it's a matter of looking inside the actual cabinet and trying to work out if it's possible to reverse engineer this quite easily. I presume it's going to take a bit of work, and yeah, so let's have a look at the cabinet itself. So I've gone ahead and pulled this cabinet a bit forward so I can get into the back. There's the back door, and this is basically yeah, a different tube, Chinese chassis, it still works, and the GroovyArcade PC that's built into here quite neatly. However, here's where the fun begins. So I've pulled out the original wiring harness from the cabinet, and it all does seem to be intact. There's the jammer edge, quite neatly cabled still. I just got to work out where these things go. Okay, that's power to the chassis. So basically I'm going to really just unplug that to get onto the jammer edge power via the AC adapter, via the power supply, which is actually already in here. I know this one does work. This worked when my Neo-Geo was all up and running. So it's a matter of now just tracing where the cabling goes and trying to figure out how to get that control panel hooked up. In fact, there's that multi-connector right there. So basically it's a matter of putting the wiring harness back into the control system, plugging this in, reversing the power on the board, on the chassis, and then theoretically plugging in the MVS and having a test. I don't know how easy it's going to go, so probably I do expect this project to last some time. So yeah, let's see what we can do. The other aspect of this cabinet, which is quite nice, is that I can quite easily switch the orientation of this monitor vertically or horizontally. This cabinet has been used as my multi-shoot 'em up vertical screen, and is with quite a bit of trepidation that I entered this project in the first place, because this is actually one of my favorite builds, however probably one of the least used, if it makes sense, for now anyway. So what I'm going to do, basically I'll take the games that I do play on here, like the Dudonpachi, etc., and I'll just port it over to this machine. And yeah, it's only a single control. However, I basically must be honest with myself, it's only ever me who plays any of the shoot 'em ups, so I never really have an opportunity to play 2 players. Again, this is not to the end of this cabinet. I can certainly convert it back relatively easily. Might take a couple of hours, but this is my idea, to try and possibly long term get into a Mister project possibly one day, just to see how this original hardware works, and then try to weigh up whether it's worth the investment in a Mister setup. Okay, just a quick update. I decided to just try to trace all the wires in the existing harness, and I found that everything's actually in place already except the control system, or except the control panel, which I'll deal with at another stage. But the power supply in here was already powering up the monitor chassis and the coin mech, so everything was actually in place. And I literally just switched over the VGA cable or monitor cable from the jammer edge from the PC. So I've just disconnected the power supply from the PC, plugged in the old Neo-Geo, the one that I know that's got a CPU error, just to see if I could get it running without blowing anything up. And yeah, good. It fired on first time. There's the Z80 error, so some kind of processor issue, but I know at least that the AC adapter, at least the power supply and all the wiring harness is actually all working. It's just a matter of now figuring out how to connect up the sound, which is going to be fairly straightforward, I believe. Just tracing away or so, and then possibly getting the control panel connected up, and then yeah, maybe let's play some original Neo-Geo stuff, and maybe even Snow Brothers.
As always, have a great arcade gaming week. Arcade Sunday out.